Sir, it is very cool to chat with you today. Thank you for the time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I really love the analytical nature of this series and how deep it dives into how much he's watching the world around him. I think it's
Yes.
so cool and refreshing.
Thank
What
you.
what did you think of him when you were, planning playing him and the fact that it kind of exists in this sense of him living on after the death of Holmes, who we obviously connected so much with.
Right. So I was initially excited, first of all, just have a chance to play in this iconic mythology of Sherlock Holmes. And when it's basically Watson's story post Sherlock's death was great. I think for me, I was really excited about. So I read the script. It was great. I met with Craig Sweeney, the showrunner. But Watson, when I met the doctor that Watson, there's a real life doctor that this character is kind of based on. He's a world renowned geneticist. And he can literally, we had some early Zooms. Every time I talked to this doctor, it's only been through Zoom until he came to set, but he was in some remote location, secret location around the world. He really does do these rare genetic cases. And we had a Zoom with him. He can literally just look at anybody on the Zoom, look at their features, look at their skin, look at their eyebrows, look at anything about them, and he can diagnose a condition that they have. And it's incredible and scary at the same time.
It's so cool to see how you've, brought that to life because that's a complex thing. And you see it in almost every scene where he's watching things. It's amazing.
Yes.
How do you think of him in terms of how he's solving this with this team? Because he also has this great mentorship with the team, but also they kind of introduce interesting angles to him too.
Oh yes. So every person that comes into his life he's curious. He's an extremely curious, inquisitive human being, and the people who are close to him in his life are there for a reason. Outside, of course, when the story opens up, Mary, his estranged wife, they already have the history, but definitely the team. The team is there. They're studying examination themselves, Shinwell, and quite frankly even Watson is a study and an examination as well because it's the first time he's had a traumatic brain injury. He suffered the loss of someone, his closest friend. He also is dealing with the loss of his marriage that he's trying to recapture, the guilt involved with that. And he's trying to rebuild his life. He's trying to restart his life again in terms of his practice. And so he's dealing with so many issues, but he also has a traumatic brain injury. So while he has that traumatic brain injury, he's questioning everything. He doesn't really know. Of course, he's always believed in his intellect, but there's so many things that have you seen? How many have you seen the episodes?
I've seen three.
Three of them. Okay, yeah. So without telling the audience, but you know that he's dealing with treating himself in a number of ways, and it's been challenging because the possible betrayal that's surrounding him.
That storyline is fascinating. I'm very excited to see where things go there. That
Thank you.
also kind of brings me to the question of I know you're an executive producer on the show as well, and you
Yes,
worked with Craig.
yes.
How did you folks envision how much you wanted to bring in the Sherlock Holmes side of things while still forging this new story?
That is Craig. I mean, I don't know if you've ever interviewed Craig Sweeney, but he is literally one of the most intelligent people that I have ever met in my entire life. And he was also an executive producer on Elementary. So he's very well. He has a very deep knowledge of the Sherlock Holmes mythology. In addition to that, of medicine as well. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds with him. He incorporates both because while we do have our show is two shows combined. we have basically the traditional medical drama to where we solve the cases. We solve we try to solve the cases inside the hospital, but we also go outside of the hospital as detectives, which is the Sherlock Holmes influence on the show. So we're doctors inside, detectives outside. We're doc-tectives. And so he combines those genres. But what's a little bit different than the traditional standalone medical drama, where each episode, we do have a case each episode that we have to solve. We also have the strong serialized element of the show, to where each show he's going to ramp up the intensity, what's happening with the characters, what's happening with these storylines. He's going to reveal a little bit more, and the audience will see there's going to be more cliffhangers, there's going to be more twists and turns. So the serialized nature of the show is really where the Sherlock Holmes influence will be as well. And there's also other characters from the Sherlock Holmes anthology that'll be in the show as well.
How would you describe the path that he's on, the journey that he's on this season? Is there some way you can describe without giving too much away?
So I would describe, the journey that he's faced with. It's I touched on it a little bit earlier. It's an extremely complicated task of rebuilding your life and the strongest relationships in your life while you're suffering a traumatic brain injury and you're dealing with these relationships with some possible betrayal around you. So it's an extremely, especially at this stage of his life, when Watson went to Reichenbach Falls to follow Sherlock, there's no way he would have ever anticipated that his best friend and the person he's most fond of in the world was going to die. So he really has a lot of, it's literally 3 life-altering events: the death of a close friend, traumatic brain injury, losing his marriage. And that's another thing, the depth of their marriage and what he sacrificed, the things that they've sacrificed in that marriage when he left is going to come out throughout the course of the season. And all 3 are life-altering events that happen somewhat all at once.
Well, the last thing I want to know is, there's some complex stuff that you're playing with here. You've got huge dialogue. You've got these knowing looks and all this other stuff. What's your favorite part of all that? And how easy or hard is it to wrap your mouth around some of these terms and things you're saying?
The medical jargon is truly a different language. It really is. And I don't know how these doctors do it. Luckily, outside of Dr. Moalim, we also have a doctor on our writing staff as well. So we're always calling and getting what's crazy about that is we'll see it, and then normally I'll run to the computer. I'll see all these medical terms, and I'll run to the computer, and you can go to a site, and they'll tell you how to pronounce the whatever it is. And then I'll call the doctors. Is this right? Because someone else said it was this. And so there's so many different interpretations. As with life, as with art, different people interpret things differently. So getting that down is challenging. And for me, so since I'm mentoring the fellows, the youngest doctors, so to speak, I really have to kind of understand a lot of the medical terminology, understand what I'm saying. And where it gets extremely challenging, probably around episode 5 or 6, because in network television, we move fast. It's like we only have 8 days to shoot 42 minutes for an episode, and most of the dialogue is on me. So it's really hard. I have to learn this, and then all of a sudden, when the next episode is here like that, I have to learn that. So I really mainly only have the weekends to try to get it in my head.
That's wild. I can't even imagine. Well,
thank you.
Thank you so much for the time. Really pleasure chatting. Have a great day. I can't wait to see more episodes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.